Hey, gorgeous. Welcome to the Healing Elevates Relationships podcast. I'm your host, Bernadette Jackson, CEO and Lead Strategist at H.E.R Consulting Group and the creator of Her Way Relationship Intensive course. This podcast was created as a response to my desire to redefine how the world views women with daddy issues. I release a new episode every week, so expect to hear me and my guests discussing topics, sharing stories, and gaining insights from the perspective of a fatherless daughter and the people who love and support us. If this is your first time here, here's what I want you to know. You deserve amazing relationships, and nothing you've done or experienced disqualifies you from that. But here's the thing. Amazing relationships with others happen after you cultivate an amazing relationship with yourself. And how do you do that? Self-discovery, healing, and accessing your authenticity. Let's dive in.
Hey y'all, I am back with another episode. If you remember, last week I talked about creating pockets of pleasure for myself and having more pleasurable experiences. And so because of that, I am curating 40 experiences, one for each trip that I took around the sun. When I was talking about creating pockets of pleasure, my mind started to drift onto all the things that would come from these experiences. I started going down a rabbit hole about how quickly pleasure or fulfillment would come once I pressed play on these curated experiences. And one thought led to another, and I started to think about our topic today. It's instant gratification. And I promise you that this is not how you have ever heard it before. I like defining things. You know this well, so let's start there. The interwebs say that instant gratification is a term that refers to the temptation and resulting tendency to forego a future benefit in order to obtain a less rewarding but more immediate benefit. We all know instant gratification, and if we're honest, we try early and often to experience it. I personally love instant gratification. There is something about that immediate hit of fulfillment that makes me feel like I have massive control. It's less about the outlook of things, which is a completely different conversation, and more about the fact that I set something in motion that gave me the feeling that I wanted to have instantly. And that is what I want to spend some time diving into. I started to wonder, why would I want to forego future benefit that I am sure will be 10 times better for the less rewarding but immediate benefit? Then it hit me. As a survivor of trauma and someone for whom healthy relationships have not always been my experience, instant gratification was a safe bet. I could trust a benefit that was coming now. I could not, however, trust myself or anyone or anything else to reward me with something in a distant future. That revelation was huge for me, huge. And I say that because I realize now that doing hard things was not something that I was equipped to do for a very long time. I did what I knew I could master quickly and get validated for publicly. That's it. I would never work on something that was going to take me years to accomplish because A, I didn't know if I would finish, and B, I couldn't quantify if the benefit would be worth the effort I put in. I, for so long, was not in a place where I would do anything that resulted in delayed gratification. As a matter of fact, my healing journey was the first time that on my own, I did a thing that I knew I would not see immediate results for. When I went deeper into thought about it, I realized that a lot of fatherless daughters and survivors of trauma in general desire and even crave instant gratification because we are so used to creating pockets of pleasure and oftentimes pockets of delusions, if we're honest, that help us to temporarily forget about the negative situations we have no control over or we are not equipped to handle. And I want to pause right there for a word from our sponsor.
Too often, as survivors of trauma, you morph into who you need to be to survive. The problem with this defense mechanism is that even when the time has passed and the pain of the trauma has subsided, you are still wearing your mask. Your most authentic self is tucked away far beneath the surface, and although you yearn for deep connection, very few people know the real you. With everything you've experienced, it can be hard to take off that mask and be free. And let's be honest, sometimes it's easier and safer to have it on. That's why I wrote Access Authenticity. This 75-day journal and strategic guide will guide you through over 170 deep reflective questions so that your most authentic self can stop being your secret identity and start being your truest identity. You deserve amazing relationships, but you won't experience them if nobody ever gets to see the real you. Head on over to Amazon today and get your copy of Access Authenticity Journal Plus Strategy. Now let's get back into this week's goodness.
So I want to give you an example of what I had said earlier because I know it was a mouthful. If you are anything like me, you have had relationships with people who you would rather not claim, right? So imagine you and your ex, who will remain nameless, broke up. Mind you, the relationship was trash. Let's just put that out there. So you and them broke up and you're upset. Your feelings are valid, so have them. Regardless of what type of relationship it is, you had feelings about it. I don't want you to discard them. But you start to think almost immediately that you don't want to feel this way because it sucks. You know that processing your emotions and working through the pain of the breakup is the healthy way to handle what happened. It will take some time, but you will come through the process more equipped to handle your next relationship. But guess what? You don't do that. Instead, you call Tyrone, calling. You know that song, but you know what I'm talking about. You call that guy that you know is eyeing you, that has always been eyeing you, that you've been holding off because why? Because when you're committed, you're faithful. And you know that it will not take but one conversation for you to get that hit of fulfillment that you need. Why? Because you have opened the door and now Tyrone is filling your ear with his desire to take you out, to wife you up, to make you happy, all the things. And he is the perfect distraction from the breakup that you want to forget or you're not equipped to handle. And you know what else you do to handle these things? You shop. Amazon is likely your best friend. You know what else you can probably do? Eat to excess. Hopping on flights that you can't afford because YOLO. There are so many ways that we give ourselves instant gratification, especially as a means to forget. So here's what I want you to take away from what I discovered. Instant gratification is fine in small doses for things that will not affect the trajectory of your life. It's when you use instant gratification as a life practice to numb yourself to things that you need to practice that there is a problem. So answer this. When was the last time you needed instant gratification? What was it a distraction from? Is the thing that you need a distraction from something that you really need to process? If so, what's holding you back? I want you to allow these questions to help you to assess how instant gratification shows up in your life and why. Speaking of questions, let's get into one of my favorite segments of the podcast, Ask Bernadette. So this week's question is from a young lady who is in a new relationship with a guy that she really likes. She asks, why is it so hard for me to be honest with him about what I would like for him to do? She said that he asks her all the time, "What can I do to make you feel like I really like you and want to be here?" And she hasn't given him a real response yet. First of all, I want to tell you that you really have a good guy there. The fact that he is asking you what you need to see from him to solidify his place tells me that he sees value in you and wants the relationship to grow and thrive. So kudos for coupling with a good one. Second thing is this. I think that you are afraid to voice what you actually need from him for two reasons. The first is that you don't feel worthy of the ask. But we've already established that your value is something that is there simply because you draw breath. And on top of that, your guy sees that and wants to make moves to show you that he sees that. The second reason is that if you ask and he does not deliver, it's going to trigger old feelings of abandonment and rejection. But it will also mess things up with him, and you really want to build something there. It's hard to go back once you put something out there and it's not something that a person can actually do. And so it means that now you have a decision to make. And one that is inevitably going to mean that the relationship will likely end. Once we put something out in the atmosphere and a person is not able to do it for us, it's very hard to take it back. And it becomes an elephant in the room because you voiced it. Now you know that they can't do it. And now it's a big thing. So you would rather get the instant gratification of just having the title of his girl and having him be there than to speak up about what you want. Have him work for it and enjoy the lasting benefit of a deeper, more fulfilling relationship where you truly feel seen, loved, and supported. The just enough that you're getting is just enough. But deep down, you want more. You have always desired more. So I want you to give yourself permission to answer the question that he's asking you truthfully. You will find out one of two things from asking the question. Either he can rise to the occasion or he cannot. And trust me when I say that either response is worth knowing because it allows you to make an informed decision about what you want to do. And I hope this helps. I really love this episode today. We will be diving more into my musings in future episodes, and I cannot wait to share them with you. Join me here next week, but before we meet again, remember that you deserve amazing relationships. But the day that you plant the seed is not the day that you're going to see the fruit. So please keep doing the work. Talk soon. Bye.